right. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Jaymes Howell's Chiefs Talk, another episode of Jaymes Howell's Chiefs Talk. Sorry, we did have some technical difficulties. We were trying to make the switch to OBS using through Zoom, and it just wasn't running very smoothly. We were it didn't share to the event page. We're gonna have to make sure that we get in there and share it to the event page. You're muted up, my friend. And then so it didn't run really smoothly. It was very choppy. The video kept freezing up on us. I don't know what was going on with that. We're gonna have to investigate it and figure out what happened and what was making that happen. We'll figure it out. OBS, of course, allows us to get a little bit more creative with our backgrounds and do some different things with the comment thread and stuff like that. So
yeah. Technology's awesome when it works. So with the event page, just kind of get it out of the way. I guess Facebook is, or I don't know if it's StreamYard or Facebook, but there was a notification on there that said if we didn't start within 10 minutes of the scheduled time, then we couldn't go live to the event. So because we jumped on here at 8:09 or whatever it was, that's why it won't let us go now. But it's live on my page and it's live on your page, and that's all right.
So Mike Harris, man, I'm glad to see you in here. I'm really upset with you right now. I'm a little pissed off that you beat me. You're just with Cooper Kupp doing what he just did. You're embarrassing me in our fantasy league. It didn't really help that Tom Brady drops a 4 points for me. Hasn't been shut out since 2006. Picks this weekend of all weekends to just throw an absolute dud.
I'm right there with you. I had Kyler Murray, and yeah.
Oh yeah. Man. So no, it's been a very disappointing fantasy week for me. Pardon me. Connie Byatt, aka Mama Bear, is in the house as always. Daniel Hibden, as always, welcome back. Appreciate y'all. Go ahead and take the time right now to share it. Let's try to get a few more members of Chiefs Kingdom in here with us tonight. Go ahead and share the event. And then, I kind of want to talk to y'all. We were in this group. It was called Chiefs Kingdom on CBS Sports. And some of y'all might be part of the group. And this is not a rant of, I'm not going to talk bad about them or anything like that. But they blocked us for self-promotion. And it says in the rules that there's no self-promotion, and we were self-promoting, and so they blocked it.
Well, pause. The rule actually says that don't take more than you give as for promotion.
That's what it says, and we were given a lot.
And that's fine. I shared my little promo pictures in there as well. It's no different that people comment. So it was a little weird that we didn't get like a warning. Just something that says, "Hey, don't do it."
They didn't give us no message. They didn't give us no warning. They didn't say, "Hey, if you don't stop doing this, we're gonna go ahead and kick you out." So, anyways, as we share this post, because I know all my faithful that's here tonight, all my legendary crew that's here with us tonight, I know y'all are going to share it for us. And as we share it, I want to make sure that we share it specifically to Chiefs Kingdom on CBS Sports Group. And they thought they could get rid of us. But I know that we're going to come in strong, and we're about to hit them with about 3-4 times as much as what we did before. So
That's all right. That's all right.
anyone that's new here with us tonight, make sure that you follow us on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, as well as TikTok. Um, just about anything you can think of. On Facebook, you can find me, Jaymes Howell, at Jaymes Howell1, or just look up Jaymes Howell's Chiefs Talk. Don't forget the Y in the name. Don't forget the Y in the name, James. It will not take you to the right page. If you do, forget it. You can also find me on Twitter, like I mentioned before, at Jaymes Howell1, at YouTube, Jaymes Howell Sports. My good buddy here next to me, when he is not on this legendary podcast, he is an insurance agent. You can find him on his LinkedIn profile, and he's an insurance agent for American Family Insurance. He also has his Facebook page at C. Riley Sports. Twitter is at C. Riley Sports. And then, like I said, you can find us on TikTok, on Instagram. We can provide links. We can put links in it. I'm fairly new to Instagram. I'm fairly new to TikTok. I just don't have that stuff memorized right now. And of course, they didn't let me get the same handle. So if you should be able to find me on TikTok at Jaymes Howell's Chiefs Talk. Do you know right off the top of your head what your TikTok is, bud?
Mine, yeah, it's Riley Sports 1988, or God, I was just cruising TikTok while we were shooting the shit here. CR Sports 1988.
CR Sports. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, they got real weird about how I did it.
He was talking about the CBS group. I never understood that. It's a Chiefs show in a Chiefs group. Why would they lose their minds about it? I don't understand at all. But the only thing I could think of is that it was self promotion, and in a lot of places, a lot of groups are against that. So if you guys are doing it, if you guys are sharing it, you guys are putting it out there on their page. It's no longer self promotion.
Yeah.
Let's go flood their page. Let's go make it happen. Donnie Craven says, "Yo, let's go. What's up, buddy? Nice to see you back in here as always." The Donnies, the Daniels, the Mikes, the Connie Byetts, Mama Bears, the Noahs. You guys are amazing every week. Every week, you guys are here. I love it. Donnie Ray Craven, CR Sports, 1988.
Donnie's got my back, man. I appreciate that.
In other words, fans, help promote this page. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys. So we want to talk briefly. Of course, we want to talk briefly about last week's game. During the game, we had a show, and we had, I think it was Chase and Noah had kind of brought up the fact, or Noah brought up the fact that it was kind of like he was being a game manager. Patrick Mahomes was being a game manager, right? And then we end the game, and he has 400 plus yards. I think it was 4 TDs. I'm not sure exactly on that. Don't quote me on it, but I mean, it didn't look like the stats of a game manager to me.
No, the stats said otherwise, and I was super shocked to see that. I'm playing against Patrick Mahomes in fantasy football, and he had his best week in our fantasy football league that he's had all year. Stat wise, it was 400 something yards, 3 touchdowns. It was one of his best games all year. And Noah and I both were like, you never know which Patrick Mahomes you're going to get. Are you going to get gunslinger Patrick Mahomes, or are you going to get game manager? And, there was a couple times in that game I kind of said, it kind of looks like we got game manager Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. But the stat says otherwise.
Well, and what's worrisome, and me, I'm always looking for the downside, the negatives, and I love to be positive. And there's not many negatives to look at in a win against a tough divisional opponent. But the downside is that this production isn't resulting. It's not resulting in a bunch of points.
Yeah.
Okay, we scored a bunch of points. It just it took all game to get to that point. Like, of course it did, but like it was only in the fourth quarter that they really start lighting it up. And it's not resulting. Maybe it's not resulting in touchdowns. Maybe that's what I'm not happy about. It's not resulting in touchdowns. What do you think the issue is? This why is it not? Why are we not getting the same production on the scoreboard as what we are on the stat sheet?
Um, I'll be honest with you. I think that I don't think the production was there either way. I think it's just, for me, this is what I did. I was sitting there looking at that stat line, and I was like, man, why did that not look, as awe to me watching the game as it usually does?
Right.
I think the bottom line is that we're so used to Patrick Mahomes doing Mahomes magic stuff that when it doesn't look magical, so to say, that we kind of grit our teeth at it. Like I said, I've gone back and watched clips of it, and it's funny now that I know the stat line and I watch clips, I'll be like, oh wow, yeah, Mahomes looked good there. But when we were watching the game live, it was almost like he didn't have that confidence that he's had. But it's and maybe that's just me putting on my realist blinders,
Right.
trying to find the negative in what wound up being an extremely huge positive.
So, Travis Kelce has 191 yards on the day. I've got the stats here now.
Yeah.
He's got 191 yards on the day, 2 touchdowns. Most of those come at yards after catch. Tyreek Hill has 148 and a touchdown. I was wrong. Patrick Mahomes only throws for 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 410 yards, 31 for 47. That's all fine and dandy. Our leading rusher only has 32 yards. And I think that's a lot of what's happening in my mind, because as that field gets shorter, yes, we've got the yards. They're gonna give it to us, and we took exactly what they gave us. When they played that cover 2 shell over the top of us, and we dinked and dunked all the way down the field. But then when that field shortens up, and those zones get smaller and smaller to cover, and it's easier and easier for those zone coverages to kick in. Um, we're not. That's where the lack of points are coming in. And if we can't get the run game going and have a balanced attack, it's easy. It's easy for defenses to stop us.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to bring it up. Noah brought this up. The yards after catch were impressive, and that underthrow to Tyreek, where he, damn near caught that ball from underneath the defender.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of great adjustments made by great receivers. Examples Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. So maybe that has a lot to do with why at the time it looked like Mahomes was having a lackluster game.
Yeah.
I just, after going back and watching some of those, like I said, maybe because now I know the stat line, it was like, yeah, that was a good throw. Yeah, that was a good drive for him, and it's kind of getting me excited for this game coming up, and the other last 2 games, and this is a good time for this team to start picking up steam.
Yeah. Yeah, man, and it just seems like they're starting to come into playoff form. Um, I don't. I'm like I kind of mentioned before. I'm not real happy with the run game. On the flip side, this is a very good defensive front that the Chargers have. Joey Bosa is a monster. Um, both the Bosa brothers. They're both incredible,
They're all
incredible athletes.
right. They're all
Yeah.
right.
um, so it's not a chump defensive front that they're going up against, but I don't think that with that said, I don't. I'm not sure what to think about the offensive line's production in this last game. I don't think that they fared too well. I know I saw several examples of Orlando Brown, getting beat with the speed rush. That continues to be in some games he does really well with it, but if he's going to get beat, it's more likely with the speed rush.
Well,
Um,
again, they're going up against a really good pass rusher in Bosa.
yeah,
Um, you know, but and that was a point that they were going to try and prove. Prior to the game, they talked about how the Chargers the Chargers front was one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. So a
mhm.
lot of people talked about Kansas City, utilizing the run more. And I think Los Angeles came into that game to prove a point about that.
Yeah,
So luckily we've got Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey, and Tyreek Hill to switch that up. You know, I I was I was specifically worried um, about Mahomes against San Diego's secondary. But as we saw, there wasn't a whole lot to be worried about.
yeah. I think they did a pretty good job. Of course, everyone kind of talks about like after the scripted plays, their production falls off offensively, and we saw that outside of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey. There wasn't much production from anyone receiving wise. Um, and those are just some of the downsides that, of course, Clyde Edwards Hilaire, he has 9 carries for 32 yards. It's 3.6. It's not very good. And then our second leading rusher with 32 yards was Mahomes. Um, so I think that should be, we've got to get a little bit more balanced attack moving forward. And then historically in the playoffs, the run game is a necessity. When it gets
Yeah,
cold, and that ball gets hard, you know, the run game becomes a necessity. So I would really like to see our big guys down front get some domination going. You know,
yeah,
um, Trey Smith can lead that charge. To show those other guys how to get a little nasty with it.
yeah. No, I think, like I said, I think in the coming weeks we'll see the offensive line start to move back in the direction they were going. I just you know I heard a lot of talk about San Diego's rush defense, and I think, or sorry, Los Angeles's rush defense, and all have us die hard. Uh, so you'll see you were going to see in that game that Bosa and those front were going to cause a ruckus with Kansas City.
Yeah, yeah. Noah Groniger, I see your picture or your comment here about the COVID list. We'll get back to it. We'll get back to it here shortly. So it will, and that will affect things moving forward, definitely. Um, so outside of that, I thought that the offense looks pretty decent. Um, if we can just get it a little bit more balanced moving forward, I think that. Obviously we're gonna be able to make a deep run. Or I say obviously we're gonna be able to make a deep run, but that's like the obvious answer, right? Like it's almost cliche to be like, well, if we get those things together, we're gonna be able to make a deep run. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost cliche because I mean it's true. You know, you
Yeah.
got to get it. You balance attack, and these things, these things happen. So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the as the defense finds these way to click during game days, during game times, you know, and they build that momentum and that chemistry. We'll see more and more of what looks like the Chiefs that we're used to seeing. Um, you know, Kelsey, obviously it shows that Kelsey is a huge part of this offense. Um, and he hasn't looked right all year. That game last week was kind of I guess his coming out party for 2021 to show that he's still here. He's still a viable part of this offense. Um, you know, Tyreek with that phenomenal catch. You know, as you said, in the colder months, we want to see the run game get going. Um, you know, I think Reed's just gonna have to break this stubbornness, whether it's Reed or it's the enemy, who knows? But this stubbornness of going with one back, trying to highlight one back.
Yeah,
If you're gonna highlight one back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not the one. You know,
yeah. I just and I was almost a defender of Clyde at the beginning of the year, and
no,
he's just
absolutely,
he just hasn't turned in. He doesn't have that explosiveness. I think Daryl Williams, um, is the guy. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? I think he's the guy, and
Well,
it could be Frank Gore or not Frank Gore, Derek Gore. You come next year. I
yeah,
see.
no, I I think that like I said, Reed has always had an issue spreading the run game around, or emphasizing on a run game, much less spreading it around. We need to get all three of those guys involved. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not the guy to solely carry that load. It needs to be all three guys, in some way, shape, or form. You know, I'm not saying Clyde shouldn't play. I'm just saying to put it all on Clyde's back, he's not the guy.
Yeah, I just don't think. I see Clyde as more of like a Tony Pollard. I think Tony Pollard and Clyde have like almost the same, maybe not the same skill set. They kind of run a little different styles, but like they're not quite the guy, but they're pretty good.
Yeah,
They're a little bit better than the number two, but not quite the number one.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and so I just don't. I agree. There needs to be a rotation of guys, and I'd like to
No,
see more.
and you're talking to Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Like that's
Yeah,
the fantasy team, and my boy got me 9 points this past week.
yeah,
Nine,
and that's a very disappointing
nine.
draft pick. Getting him in the first round when there were other pressing needs. It was kind of like a luxury of riches at the time. And there were and we give Veach his props, week in and week out about Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith and Nick Bolton and all these great picks, but he's got some duds too, you
Yeah.
know, and yeah, I don't think for the value that we put into Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'm ready to. He's not a stud, I'll tell you that.
Well, he he has served a purpose. Um, I think just how how the offense wants him to function is is not he's either not ready for it or he's just not. that type of player. He's not a 3-down back.
Yeah. Well, and it is just, it's at this point, it just almost is what it is,
Agreed.
So, defensively, we seen the effects, and we talked about this, last week, when we were making our predictions with Jones being out. I didn't think I was kind of in the belief that it would just be the next man up. There would be a little bit of dip in production, and I did not expect it to be as much as what we saw on Thursday night during the game. I just they were constantly. I think their average was over 5 yards a rush. And that's
Yeah.
the effect of Chris Jones not being there, and that's also the effect of Willie Gay Jr. not being there. And so other than that, I thought that I really thought that the defense played fairly decent for the cards that they were dealt. What was your thoughts, bud?
I'm sorry, you cut out, man.
Yeah, you're all right. What was your thoughts on the defensive performance?
I mean, the defense missing key players. They were able to keep up. They were able to, obviously this Chargers team is a good team. The defensive back started to look a little scary there for a second, but without Snead making a presence, that defense played as good as it could have, given the circumstances of injuries and whatnot, or not injuries, but people out for whatever reason. And we're looking at the same thing this week. So
yeah, and to be honest with you, they played decent, but at the same time, if it wasn't for dumb decisions and greed by the Los Angeles Chargers head coach, I don't have his name right off the top of my head, but yeah, if it wasn't for the greed from that man, that he cost them that game.
The coaching decisions did cost Los Angeles that game. Like I said, the defense put us in a position. The defense put us in a good enough position to win. But on the other side of that, Los Angeles, that coaching staff made sure that we did. That game should have never have went to overtime. They had 9 points that 9 points left on the field exactly. That was very disappointing. If you're a Chargers fan, that's very disappointing to watch. And I'm not even exactly sure if any of those, I can think of at least one that's completely unjustifiable, where they went for it, where they should have just taken the points. The other two, I'd have to go back and watch, to see field position and whatnot. Also got to think about momentum on the drive and everything, going for it on fourth down, which is crazy because I feel like I've seen so many teams go for it on fourth down this year.
It's almost disrespectful. It really is. It's almost disrespectful to the Chiefs to see people just go over and over again. Well, we don't think you can stop us. And as well as the Chiefs defense has played over the past 8 weeks, 7-8 weeks, just during this last stretch of games, and to do that 3 times, like you said, they left 9 points on the field.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, it was just.
It's a different ball game. I mean, are we having the conversation about the Chiefs being the Chiefs being the number one seed right now? If they didn't leave those 9 points on the field,
We're struggling to get the AFC West. If that's the case,
yeah,
if they leave those, if they have those 9 points, this is the what if game or whatever, and
yeah.
it's fun.
There's no way to say that one pebble we throw in the fountain of time doesn't cause a ton of ripples.
Yeah,
The Chiefs could
they could
score.
have went out there and missed all their field goals,
Yeah,
but
they could have missed those field goals, and for every field goal they scored, maybe the Chiefs score a different touchdown. Who knows? But
yeah,
hypothetically speaking, if they had those 9 points
there's no
on
overtime.
paper, there's no overtime. They win the game. The Chiefs are in second place, and the Chiefs aren't in first place in the AFC. So then we have completely different conversations today, probably solely around the defense and probably about how the offense can't get the job done. But that's not what we're doing. We're talking about um, we're talking about us winning and beating the Chargers in overtime because they elected not to take the points 3 times.
Yeah, yeah. He says, David Lindsay says, I don't see it as we can't stop them. It's more like they feel they have to put up touchdowns instead of field goals. It's
I
it's not really like our offense has been like that great though.
no,
It,
I think uh, uh, if I was going to say, hey, I'm going to speak from Los Angeles Chargers head coach from his point of view. I would say it as, hey, this is a division game. This is for the marbles. We're playing a good team in our division, a team that we don't want to have to worry about later down the road because they're on a streak, and they've got Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes on the other side of this ball. I'm not giving it back to them without putting up 7. That's
yeah,
a fair that's a fair thing, but 3 times, 3 times, come on, man.
yeah.
You
It's
got
just
to you got to
that,
take the 3 points. You got to take the 3 points somewhere. You don't have to take all 9 of those points. It's okay to go for it on fourth down. In one of those situations, maybe we can go back and look and say, okay, hey, you and the Chiefs were neck and neck, or maybe you needed the points, but to do it 3 times like that, it's not a good look come December or come January when the season's over for Los Angeles and the Chargers front office start looking at this past year. That's not a good look for you as a head coach.
right. 28-31 would still have won. Yeah. I mean, instead of
Yeah,
overtime,
yeah. I
you know,
mean,
one field goal would have made the difference.
yep, one.
You know. So, all right, guys. Well, before we switch over, we're going to talk about a little bit of COVID issues that are going on with the team. Look, before we do that, I just want to mention, look, I'm at 381 followers on my page right now, Jaymes Howell Chiefs Talk. Help me get to 400. Let's try to get to 400. I want to get to 400 by the end of the week. If you haven't already, make sure you go follow my page, Jaymes Howell Chiefs Talk. You can find me on Facebook. Let me pull it up. Boom. At Jaymes Howell 1. Also, make sure you go follow my buddy Chase here at C. Riley Sports on Facebook. It's very, very important. Make sure you follow. If you haven't already, go share so we can get the followers. Look, sharing takes 5 seconds, completely free, helps way more than you think. Way, way more than you might think. So appreciate each and every single one of y'all. Y'all are the best. Look, Noah Groniger said earlier, he mentioned Steelers versus the Chiefs, COVID nightmare if Travis and Tyreek can't play, and Butker is definitely out. I asked for an Elliott Fry breakdown, the kicker that they signed to the practice squad, as a joke last week. Now I really need one as he attempts to fill in for Butker, hearing it could be moved to Monday or Tuesday. Okay, so what's up with Butker? I didn't hear. Is he out with COVID or
He's on the COVID list.
okay? And he's not vaccinated.
That I don't know.
Okay, so if he's definitely out, if that's the case, and he's definitely out, I would assume it was because he's not vaccinated. Noah, if you're here, can you confirm that? Um, but this COVID, yep, Butker is unvaccinated. So yeah, that's that's the difference between if you're vaccinated and if you're not vaccinated. If you're vaccinated, I think it's 10 days that you have to have. If you're or if you're unvaccinated, it's 10 days. If you're vaccinated, it is 2 days of negative tests. 10 days of negative tests, 2 days of negative tests before you're eligible. So some of these guys, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Blake Bell was on the list. Help me out here, partner. Who else was on there? You posted it on your page earlier.
Yeah, that's what I'm bringing it up real quick.
Some of these guys, they have a chance to still be able to play. We have a long week this week, because we played on Thursday and then the next week is Sunday. Ward, Fenton, appreciate
Kelce,
it, David.
Kelce, Butker, Ward, Tyreek Hill, Rashad Fenton, Blake Bell.
He says now it's negative. It's one negative test, and they can come back with the new rules. Is that vaccinated? What do you mean by that? Is that unvaccinated? We get one negative test, or vaccinated, we get one negative test. Which one? But yeah, that's a Ward, Fenton, Butker, Hill, Kelce, Blake Bell. These are big names. Vax. Yeah. Just for vaccinated players. Appreciate you guys. It's like hey, you guys are awesome, man. It's like my own little fact checker here.
10 days for unvaccinated. So yeah. Butker is out.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
And go ahead. So here's what's crazy. Who finds out if these players are vaccinated or not? Obviously the league does, but I'm saying do they put it on the NFL website? Like, hey, this player got vaccinated. This player got vaccinated. I'm
not sure. I'm sure they have records of some sort. Hold on, I'm trying to. Don't do it. I'm sure they have records of some sort. Medical staff, team doctors of who's vaccinated and who's not. I'm not sure how all that works. They got to be able to find. But I would rather have this issue now than in the playoffs. Heard that.
1,000%. 1,000%, man. Yeah. As soon as David said that, I was like, yeah, that's 1,000% true. Absolutely. Winning out is nice. Maintaining number one seed is nice, but this issue right now is much better than having this issue in mid-January. Because, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, for obvious reasons. Fudge. Man, I forgot what I was going to say. All right, so these guys, good possibility that they might very well possibly be out against Pittsburgh. With Butker definitely out. He was talking about Elliott Fry. I still haven't really, I know, like you said, Noah, it was kind of like a joke last week. And now I'm in the same boat, man. I haven't even honestly, the Butker news is news news to me right now. Here we are, and so I haven't had a chance to even look at Elliott Fry. I just kind of thought, it was just one of those miscellaneous pickups, and what a pickup, and what great timing on that. If you could just like you can't predict that something's going to happen, but it sure seemed like he did. So what do you think about this Pittsburgh matchup coming up?
I think that as long as they reschedule the damn game and we have everybody who we're supposed to have, I think it's I think it's a pretty solid game for Kansas City. Going into it right now, I'd have to be a little bit worried about the defense. So
thanks, Noah. Appreciate that one, buddy. Yeah, man. So do you think that they okay, so we've seen I'm watching the game right now that was pushed back, between the Raiders and the Seahawks. I watched the Raiders. I seen the Raiders and the Browns and the Bears and the Vikings and what's the other game? Washington, and we don't get to see. So we see all these games pushed back. My question is, and it's really more directed towards the NFL, is what is the qualifications? How are you qualified? What has to happen to be qualified to be eligible to move your game because your players have COVID? Is it the amount of star power that is out? Or is it like, okay, so kicker, like that's a big position for us. Is it the importance of position? And there doesn't seem to be a clear definition there. Some of these games we have players with COVID that don't get flex, and they're big players. Willie Gay Jr., and which is not big in the national spotlight for per se, but Chris Jones is for sure. And I know we didn't get hit hard with COVID, but those are important players to us. Now I'm not saying that it should have been flexed out or anything like that. I don't think it should have been. But what is that? Where is that line?
Yeah. Well, I mean, who says exactly? What are the credentials that they pull out? They pull out to say, okay, hey, we need to reschedule this game. Is it so many players? Is it so many players from both teams? Is it just one team? That's interesting. I've never really looked into it. You would think
last year. It happened last year where there was a game that was played, and I forget who it was, but then right afterwards, Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore, they got pushed back. And it was like, oh, because Lamar Jackson has COVID, they get pushed back. But this other game they had to play.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So I would like, moving forward, I would like to see the NFL, if we're going to have protocol in place, let's make it, well, first off, I think it needs to be a little bit more transparent to the general public, so we can, and maybe it is, maybe I just haven't done enough research. I haven't really dove into that side of things, but I
guess wouldn't it go against HIPAA rules if we the general public asked Tyreek Hill if he's vaccinated?
Well, and Noah brought this up. He said, once someone gets COVID and they go on the list, you find out if they're vaccinated or not, because if they're gone for 10 days.
Then exactly. I was just saying, like if COVID is the new norm if this is what we're going to have to do every flipping year, with these vaccines and these booster shots and all this other stuff, okay, are we going to put that are we going to put that on their NFL profile next to their receiving yards? If they're vaccinated.
On the Topps card, on their baseball
Yeah,
card?
yeah.
Vaccinated.
Vaccinated 1, 2, 3 for each booster they get.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't know, man.
The Rams just won. I didn't even see the game in. They just won.
Yeah.
Now we kick on the Washington Philadelphia game. What a shock there. I thought Washington was going to be able to pull off that one. And Philadelphia kind of looks like they might be in playoff contention.
All I know is Cooper Kupp didn't give me 50 points, so that's all I know. That's all I care about. Care less about those other games.
Any word on Jones, Snead, and Gordon coming back this week? I haven't, quite honestly, I haven't heard anything about like if they've tested negative or anything. In a failed attempt to try to get OBS, working for us, I kind of invested all my time into getting our production value to rise a little bit, and I didn't get to do as much research on some things as I wanted. Seahawks got screwed. I didn't see it. What happened? Yeah, the refs are blind. They missed a pass interference. Or no Heineke for the Washington. Don't they got what's his name? Fitzmagic. He's decent sometimes. Horrible Rams PI that wasn't called. Yeah, when at what point do you think that they go to like robotic officials?
Or are we going to get to the point where every single play is reviewed by New York?
Well, look, I think that if they're those plays like that, all of them should be reviewed. I've seen so many times where a blatant pass interference got missed, or got called and it wasn't, or whatever.
Well,
maybe
let's go back to the NFC Championship. 2018 against the Rams and the Saints.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we got to a situation where almost every penalty was reviewed by New York, does it take the bang bang, the 1-2 bang out of the element out of the game? Does it take the real time out of the game? If everything is reviewable, then, I don't know, man. I feel like sometimes, I don't feel like the game should be under a microscope. Now, granted, I understand that there shouldn't be blatant obvious calls. Like the one we just talked about, that Saints game. Obviously, if that was reviewed by New York, that should have been called.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like, to some extent, you don't want it to be under a microscope. You just want to let them.
Yeah. It's like every NFL player will tell you, especially like every NFL lineman, every NFL offensive lineman, will tell you that there is holding on every play. But what is strong enough to cause the refs to throw a flag? So there is that inconsistency that I guess is a necessary evil, because if we had robotic refs like Donnie's talking about, or everything was reviewed by New York, are we going to play it down a fault because every single play is going to get called back for holding?
Also, like the length of games, now we're looking at 4.5, 5-hour games.
Yeah, to stop it every 10 minutes for.
Yeah, so you don't want to change like the flow of the game. You just, but there's just like there's no excuse why this game-changing calls or missed calls should continue to be allowed. I understand that there's human error. Refs make mistakes. And sometimes this shit happens
Yeah,
so bang bang that you can't help it.
yeah,
But
of course.
though in those situations, they should, New York should be able to, hey, change that. You fucked
Yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Going back to the Saints, to that Saints Rams game in 2018, the NFC Championship, New York should have been able to stop and say, "Hey, this is huge. This needs to be looked at," because
Well, yeah,
it decided the outcome of a game. You know,
and I don't
um,
really like talking about like conspiracy theories and stuff like that, but when this happens so much and so often, um, it provokes people to start thinking like that. Like it is so blatant sometimes, and it just happened to cost the certain team a game.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
and I don't necessarily believe in
But are,
conspiracy in the
but are you
NFL.
talking? But are you talking about that if they would have called that pass interference play, or if they would have called that pass interference play, that the Saints might have gone, and that if they wouldn't have called D Ford's one whole hand over the line offsides, that the Chiefs would have went, and we would have gotten the Chiefs versus the Saints, which is what everybody wanted that
That's
year.
what everyone wanted. That's what everyone wanted.
I
I
had,
couldn't
I
believe it.
had, I had
I,
to, man. I'll never forget after that. I'll never forget watching that Super Bowl. There was there was just countless people on my Facebook feed that were like, "It should be the Chiefs and the Saints right now," and I'm like, "Well, it's not." So,
yeah, it's not, you know, and it just seems well, to get to that, just go ahead and take it to that level. It just seems like Tom Brady has gotten way too many of it, been in way too many of those coincidental situations, and been the beneficial party, been the beneficiary of it. Um,
well,
Donnie says conspiracy theories. You mean unwanted facts? Yeah. Oh yeah. All right, man. Well, I'm kind of, tonight wasn't real structured. We kind of knew that going in. Anything else you wanted to talk about?
I don't have anything right off the top of my head. I know we were kind of, we've been kind of running and running with, we did one show, we did a 2 hour show last week. Then we did a damn near 4 hour show 2 days later.
Yeah.
I know you and I have been working on, you've been working on OBS. I've been working on content, trying to work on getting some of my things going, as
Oh,
far as,
and good news, chat. We've got a sponsorship opportunity that has presented itself, and
yep,
that's another thing that we've been working on. And I
yep,
don't want to mention any names or anything like that just yet, but we do have a sponsorship opportunity coming up. We are growing. It's you guys. It's you guys. You guys are awesome. You guys are the reason why we're growing. We're getting out there. These guys, they contacted us. It was not something I reached out to them about. They contacted us, and the only way they even knew about us is because the show reached them at some point, and it's because of you guys. I share it one time, maybe twice during this stream, and I only get out to so many people. Same with Chase,
yep,
but we get you guys in there, and you guys you're helping us. God, we are forever grateful. We love you
yeah.
guys.
Yeah, no, we've built enough traction with this thing that obviously somebody or other people are noticing. This is a huge opportunity for Jaymes House Chiefs Talk. So I know I'm excited. I'm excited for Jaymes. Um, it's awesome when and definitely for you, Jaymes. I know it's awesome when you get to see the fruits of your labor. So yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, so that's exciting. And then, like Chase was saying, we've just been working our tails off, man. We're Chase does his thing, with work, American Family, and he does Chiefs James House Chiefs talk on the side, but he's and Chase Riley Sports on the side. He's working his tail off, putting out content. If you haven't subscribed, go do that. If you haven't followed, go do it. He's got tons of content. Likewise on my end, and we're trying to grow it. But for those who have been here with us the entire time, Donnie, Noah, um, Daniel, Connie Byatt, Mama Bear, of course, she's in here all the time. David, I mean, you guys rock, man. You guys are awesome.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah.
And if I missed anyone, Jonathan Lamport's another one. I didn't see him in here tonight. He's usually in here. Uh, yeah, if I missed anyone, I apologize. Don't beat me up too bad.
Well, hey, the only other thing I think we'll touch on real quick, and then we'll call it a night. He's got it. That's where I was going. need to get to 400, man, and this is how you're going to get to 400.
I think that's it, man. I think once
That's
we hit
it.
400, I can't get it to focus in on it, but that's Legarius Sneed. We got a certificate of authenticity right there.
That's
That's
right.
it, man. I think once we get to 400, I think that triggers the giveaway. You know, so yeah, that's exciting. And then after that, we've got a couple more. I got a couple Neil Smith ones, and I got a buddy of mine that I've been talking to, where I might be getting some more memorabilia to give away to you guys. Maybe some like jerseys or stocking caps or stuff like that. Maybe signed, maybe not. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But we're trying to get back to you guys for supporting us like you have. um,
Most definitely.
so all right, man. Well, I think that's it. On my end, uh, we're sitting at an hour. I'm sitting here going, well, pretty short show tonight. Which is it's kind of odd because we've just kind of grown it to that point. We used to be at 45 minutes, and now if we're only at an hour, it's a short show.
Yeah.
So, here where we at? All right, guys, I appreciate it. Much love. Look, one more comment. Where'd it go? Keep grinding, you guys. Eagles won. Appreciate you. You guys are awesome. Until next time, as always, stay legendary, my
Stay
friends.
legendary, my friend.